Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Justin here as always. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me today to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant, Mayhem. And before we start, I gotta get something off my chest, guys. I have a confession to make that's been heavy on my heart for a long time. Now, I normally don't talk about these things on the channel, but I want to be serious for just a few seconds, and I have to let you guys know something. I can be a bit of a hater. Especially with this movie. When I heard this movie was announced, I didn't know much about it, and I kind of just instantly dismissed it. Not that I was angry or upset that another reboot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, another iteration of this franchise was going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. I just figured it wasn't going to be for me. I felt like it was going to be just super cringe, or maybe geared towards people that are much younger than I am, and not really hit that nostalgia nerve that I wanted. But then I started to see clips of the movie and images, and I started to see the animation style, and I was really intrigued, and I was all in. I knew I wanted to see the movie, and after seeing it today, guys, I'm so happy to report that this movie is so good. I was shocked at how much I was just instantly hooked from the beginning all the way to the end. I was sort of blown away in a way that I was not expecting, to be honest with you. This movie was directed by Jeff Rowe and Kyler Spears. I'm not too familiar with Jeff Rowe. I saw he worked on Gravity Falls, which I think had a little cult following. He was writer on that for several years. The music was done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and apparently a sequel and a spin-off TV series are already in development for this. I really don't have any major complaints about this movie. We're gonna get into it. There's a couple minor nitpicks that I may mention along the way, but overall, this was such a pleasant experience. I wanna kick this review off, first of all, talking about how mind-blowing the animation is in this. Every moment of this movie is like a visual marvel with all of the neon and the intricate design of the characters. Every frame of this movie is just packed with detail and sort of Easter eggs and all of these really cool things to look at. The studios behind the animation of this were Micros Animation or Micros Animation and Cinesite, and they did such an astounding job at weaving this super cool sketch-like animation and blended it with hyper-realistic real world. So the real world feels tactile. It takes place in New York. This hyper-realistic representation of New York mixed with this sketchbook-style animation worked so well together. The creators in charge of this movie said that they designed this movie in the spirit of what sketches in a book would look like, almost as if these sketches came to life and jumped off the page, while at the same time the animation blends with this hyper-realistic outside world. I cannot stress enough how groundbreaking this animation is. Then you have this incredible cast. I didn't know who any of the cast members were or the voice actors were going into this movie. I sort of recognized a voice here and there, but I had no idea the talent that was assembled to make this movie come together. Now, when the Turtles first hit the scene, they were actually in a comic book, a dark comic book series. Since then, some of the details have changed as far as character backstories, removing and adding new characters as we saw in the cartoons and movies. And with Mayhem, we see the Turtles evolve for a new era and a new generation. Sure, certain character details are different from the cartoons and movies we grew up with, but the heart of the Turtles and the characters we love are all here, even though they may look and sound a bit different. The Turtles here feel more like actual teenagers. April is a high school student with dreams of becoming a journalist, and in place of Shredder here, we have Superfly, played by Ice Cube for me, which was a welcome change. Ice Cube is so good in this role. The relationships and the chemistry between all of our main characters is really natural. The dialogue is witty and feels current without being cringe. And the story is simple and it doesn't feel convoluted or overly complicated. It's also pretty bold with the language and violence here. I mean, it's not Kill Bill. We're not seeing arms getting chopped off or anything like that, but there's really great fight and action sequences that kept me on the edge of my seat and entertained the entire time. And I can't stress enough how beautiful this movie is. Every frame is packed with incredible visual storytelling and these mind-blowing neon sequences. The movie's very dark too, like actually dark. The movie takes place mainly at night throughout the entire film, and the ending sequence is so weird and unexpectedly grotesque. It almost reminded me of something Steven Kostanski would do, the guy who did Psycho Gorman. The final sequence of this movie is almost like a Godzilla kaiju type of thing, and the character that we see is so unbelievably gross and highly detailed. I was really not expecting it to go that far with how bizarre it was by the creature design, and kind of scary, I would imagine, for some young children. I'm an old man myself, and I didn't find it to be overly childish. In fact, fact, I found it to be more adult and more along the lines of what like a graphic novel would be with these fight sequences. The characters are cussing. They're not dropping F-bombs or anything like that, but the characters are loose with language. There's some brutal violence and some sinister and really dark tones. They talk about killing all humans, and people are getting their faces smashed with shit, and it was more brutal than I honestly expected too. This movie was a lot of fun. Such a pleasant surprise. I was not expecting to like this movie as much as I did. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I look forward to sequels, and I look forward to seeing more from this particular universe of Ninja Turtles. Seth Rogen, man, I gotta give it to him. He really knocked it out of the park and gave old school fans so much to chew on, as well as sort of opening this world up for a new generation. And I feel like it's a tough balancing act, but he really managed to do it well here without doing anything overly offensive to old school fans. Not the whole move, the whole thing isn't completely gutted and changed. There's enough here for old school fans and plenty more for new fans of a new era and a new generation. Go out and support this movie. I do believe it's in 3D. I didn't see it in 3D. I saw it in a standard format, but I saw it in a big theater with great sound, and I was entertained. I was not bored for even a second out of this movie. It's really, really great. If you guys have seen Mutant Mayhem, let me know in the comments what you thought of it, if you plan to see it, and what were your thoughts going into this. I'm curious as to what people, if they were excited about this. I'm mainly speaking to the old school fans who are used to the movies and the cartoon. Were you looking forward to this? Are you looking forward to this? And guys, I think we're done here. Stay weird. Remember to always be yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.